As the debate over the U.S. border closing continues, we'll take a look at what that could mean for the surge in unaccompanied children.
Just living in a community that comes together for people who are marginalized, it's just a beautiful thing.
Plus, efforts underway in Arizona to spread awareness about Asian American hate during the pandemic.
And later this half hour, on Break It Down, the diversity in movie and television characters.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Breonna Alexander.
And I'm Nick Shesky. Thank you for joining us. Our big story today, Arizona expands COVID-19 vaccination eligibility to everyone over 16 years old. This new development applies only to Arizona's state-operated COVID-19 vaccination sites in Maricopa, Pima, and Yuma counties. Anyone over the age of 16 will be allowed to register for their vaccine shots beginning Wednesday. According to health officials, as of this morning, Arizona has administered 2.9 million doses. Across the U.S., 44 million Americans have been fully vaccinated now. 1.1 million of those are from the Grand Canyon State. Based on the current rate, it's estimated that half of the U.S. population would at least be partially vaccinated around mid-May.
The number of migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border continues to rise. Hundreds have been kept in U.S. Border Patrol facilities. Cronkite News reporter Samantha Bird explains what's causing the increase.
The growing number of migrant arrivals has overwhelmed the Biden administration's resources, resulting in crowded conditions. Authorities say the biggest concern is the high number of unaccompanied migrant children. This migrant came from Honduras with his wife and 2 children to Nogales, Sonora, Mexico, running from violence in his country.
Sometimes you don't have enough money, but we were able to save some money, and with that, we left.
Ortega and his family arrived in Nogales a month ago seeking political asylum. According to CBP, the number of unaccompanied children in Tucson were 4,759 in February of this year, an increase of 45% compared to the same date in fiscal year 2020. While in Yuma, authorities detained 945 to February of this year, a 104% increase compared to the same date in fiscal year 2020. As of Saturday, there were more than 5,000 unaccompanied children in CBP custody, according to CNN.
The border has never been open. The border has always been closed, and people have been deported all the time. I think the only difference is that when you do political statements, like Biden did about going back to welcoming the immigrant or the migrant, calling in a crisis, and then that way they don't pass anything at the federal level.
Salvador Reza is an activist with Tona Tierra in Phoenix. He says this crisis has deeper roots.
This crisis in reality is a process crisis. It's not really an immigration crisis because they're deporting everybody. They're just allowing a very small number of children.
For Angela Banks of ASU Law School, the increase of migrants crossing the border may be due to misinformation among migrants.
Now, what has possibly changed is the message that smugglers and others are giving to migrants, which is there's a new administration, it's a new day. The Biden administration has been very clear about saying that our borders are still essentially closed to non-essential travel.
Yuma Mayor Douglas Nichols says they're looking for funds in order to accommodate the high numbers of migrants in the Yuma sector.
Trend has been about 300 a day, but I don't know if that's going up or going down. We've had about 1,500 migrants released into the Yuma area. A large majority of those have been COVID tested and put on transportation to other shelters.
In the meantime, Ortega and his family are unsure about their future.
I am waiting for a number in order to apply for political asylum because I don't have any other way.
Homeland Security Secretary says the border is closed, but the U.S. will not expel vulnerable children. In the broadcast center, Samantha Bird, Cronkite News.
Marijuana seizures are down 81% since 2013, according to a recent study released by the Drug Enforcement Administration. Cronkite News reporter Ryan Vlahovic talked to marijuana advocates to get their opinion on why this is.
In 2013, 1.3 million kilograms of Mexican marijuana were seized at the border. In 2019, that number dropped down to less than 300,000, according to the DEA. Marijuana advocates say they saw it coming. This is Operation Pipeline Express in Pima County in 2011. Back then, authorities seized over 61,000 pounds of marijuana.
Oh, that's a good load.
We did this operation.
This is Operation Desert in 2017. In a week, authorities seized over 300 pounds of marijuana. But this is Arizona now.
One of the main arguments for repealing criminal prohibition is that doing so would disrupt the criminal marijuana market.
And Paul Armentano of NORML, a marijuana advocacy group, isn't wrong. A recent study from the DEA found that marijuana seizures at the southern border dropped 81% in 6 years.
This is what we predicted.
The dropping trend started in 2013, 1 year after Washington and Colorado became the first states to fully legalize recreational use of the plant.
The legalization of marijuana throughout states in the U.S. has largely disrupted the Mexican marijuana market.
Armentano says the reason for this is simple.
When given the option, Americans would rather buy domestically, and they'd rather buy a product in an above-ground legal environment than from the illicit market.
Since 2013, 16 states have legalized recreational marijuana use, including Arizona. In the studio, Ryan Vlahovic, Cronkite News.
New information. 1 in 4 Americans have witnessed Asian people getting blamed for the coronavirus pandemic. That's according to a recent USA Today and Ipsos poll. The nationwide survey taken on Thursday and Friday reports 25% of Americans reported witnessing anti-Asian harassment in recent weeks. And nearly half of Asian Americans say they've seen it, while 57% of those surveyed described the coronavirus as a natural disaster. 43% believe a particular organization or people is responsible for the virus.
According to an analysis from the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino, anti-Asian hate crimes have increased by nearly 150% since March 2020. After the Atlanta shootings on March 16th that targeted Asian American women, the Asian American and Pacific Islander community, or AAPI, has been holding events and vigils throughout the country. Reporter Julia Sandor went to the Capitol to capture the ceremony.
The Arizona AANHPI for Equity Coalition held a candlelight vigil at the Arizona State Capitol. The vigil was created to raise awareness and help the AAPI community heal following the recent anti-Asian hate crimes. People from all backgrounds, races, and cultures gathered outside the state capitol to pay their respects to the lives lost in the Asian American community last week after a deadly shooting in Atlanta. Their goal? Show support and call on lawmakers to make changes.
I think that overall we want to continue to build bridges. And in order to do that, we want to really collaborate, particularly with our elected officials, our local businesses, organizations. We can't do this alone. No one can do this alone.
Community is number one, in my opinion, and just living in a community that comes together for people who are marginalized, it's just a beautiful thing.
As the sun set, candles lit up the lawn and the crowd listened to personal stories from people in their community.
If you hear someone speaking of a stereotype or making someone feel uncomfortable, just speak up for them. Because culturally, we're taught to kind of not confront that and to just hold it in. And we're just saying enough is enough. We need to change the stigma.
The current rise in attacks on the AAPI community has heightened fear across the country. But the message of the vigil was one of hope.
Let's accept the challenge. Let's meet it head on. Let's confront it, and let's defeat it.
Several vigils were held around the valley this weekend and in many cities across the country. In the studio, Julia Sandor, Cronkite News.
Taking a look outside now from our downtown studios, spring is finally here, and the valley is experiencing some beautiful temps and breezes. But we do have some rain chances on the horizon later this week. Cronkite News' Tina Giuliano is in the Weather Center with a look at our forecast. Tina?
2, 1.
Yeah, it's been a beautiful day today, and this weekend was, didn't I tell you, it was gorgeous. Looking to tomorrow, we're gonna see still some really nice temperatures over in Phoenix, 65, in the Grand Canyon, 35, and then down in Tucson, we're at 71. I mean, these temperatures aren't super hot, so please enjoy this while it lasts, because this week, we're going to see a little bit of showers kind of coming and kind of grazing through our state. By Wednesday, they will be pretty much cleared up. But here, looking at the closer look, we'll see that, you see, although that purple means snow. So in the high country, it's definitely going to be a lot of snow, rain, wind, and it'll even graze Tucson a little bit. Tonight, it's going to look really great. I mean, 63 by 10 p.m., clear, sunny skies. And 0% chance of rain, but our week is looking pretty good. We're having some cloudy skies, a little bit % chance of rain here on Tuesday, but by the weekend, that sun will be back. We're seeing low 70s on Friday, but by Saturday and Sunday, 80 on Saturday, Sunday 87, and then Monday, we are almost at 90 degrees. So grab your sunscreen, grab your shorts, because it's gonna get a little bit hot here in a minute with our sunny skies. So enjoy it while it lasts. In the Weather Center, Tina Giuliano, Cronkite News.
I'm Kelsey Calasi. After the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report, including a roundup of what's going on in the basketball world for State 48. Don't go away.
Every day I wake up, my first thought is, how can I serve this community?
The biggest hurdle was not taking PTSD personally.
Would you welcome, please, the amazing.
Everybody that watches this, they say that I am the greatest that they've ever seen.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS. It's prime time on your time. Watch Prime Afternoons every weekday on Arizona PBS. Did you miss a show in the evening? Then catch up on Prime Afternoons. Your favorite dramas.
No more bloody heroics.
Antiques Roadshow.
Really?
Nature and Nova.
It's time to reintroduce some wonder into this miracle of nature.
All of the best from PBS on Prime Afternoons. Weekdays starting at 1:30, only on Arizona PBS.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
Welcome to today's Cronkite Sports Report. I'm Kelsey Calasi. Grand Canyon University lost in their NCAA tournament debut. The Lopes fell to Iowa, who came into the matchup as a 2 seed with one of the best offenses in the nation. With the Lopes' defeat, the game was not without excitement, though, as GCU brought 250 students, leaving their mark on Indianapolis.
If you come to a game in our arena and you saw a glimpse of it tonight, just imagine, 4,000 students, doing that the whole game and before the game. It'll change your perspective when you go to a college game. So, we're really excited to be at Grand Canyon. This was an unbelievable year for our program to get to the NCAA tournament.
There are no Arizona teams left in the men's tournament. However, it doesn't mean the fun is over just yet. The University of Arizona's women's team won their first round matchup handily against Stony Brook, 79-44. And the Suns keep shining. Chris Paul recorded his 10,000th assist, making him only the 6th player to do so all time. The team defeated the defending champion Lakers for sole possession of 2nd place in the Western Conference. The win places the Suns just 2 games behind the conference-leading Utah Jazz.
It is a huge win for us. Obviously, as I said in the pregame, they're a team with a championship pedigree, DNA, you name it. And any win in this league is a big win, so we're grateful for that.
And DeAndre Ayton made waves with his kicks. The custom shoes featured Mercury logos and the names of Mercury players. And speaking of the Mercury, star Brittany Griner has been putting in work on and off the court. Griner is one of several athletes who has spoken out about mental health issues. Cronkite News reporter Zach Moore examines how some players are dealing with the ups and downs of being professional athletes.
Mental health. It's something none of us can afford to take lightly. Phoenix Mercury star Brittany Griner wants athletes to know that there is strength in addressing that vulnerability.
I think more people should be open about talking about mental health issues, just finding that centerpiece with themselves and talking about going to counseling and talking instead of holding in so much.
We're in the lane. Look at this. 1, 2, and boom.
Griner joins a growing list of athletes that have taken some time away from the game. Former Arizona State women's basketball player Robbie Ryan spoke about how the typical athlete's schedule can take a toll on a player's performance, not just on the court, but in life.
Being able to recognize, like, as an athlete and then as people who surround athletes, that our schedules and way of life, like, it is very taxing, and it can drain you if you're not doing the right things.
At the end of it all, athletes are human beings just like us, and counseling can offer them the help they need to stay focused.
And again, I think what athletes have started to do, and it's a fantastic thing to see, is they've sort of started to communicate that. Like, I am an athlete, but I'm also a person.
It's done wonders for me. I'm in a place now where I feel amazing, and I took that time to work on my body as well.
The expectations on the court are high, but athletes will continue to make their voice heard and emphasize that mental health is more than just a trend. In Chandler, Zach Moore, Cronkite News.
That does it for today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Brianna and Nick.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.